What is up? What is going on, Renovation Nation? I'm your host, Nathan Bush. You guys know the drill. Each show we bring to you real life examples from my real estate experience. I invite industry experts, innovators, influencers to experience some of the challenges and opportunities facing small multifamily real estate investors. And I designed this show to answer the questions you have about researching a market, setting up effective management systems, and maximizing your returns. If you want more of these types of resources regularly, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel or head over to www.nathanbushmba.com/subscribe and check out the resources there in the link descriptions. And if you guys have questions today, I highly encourage you to go ahead and submit those questions online. All right, now that that's out of the way, we're talking today about overcoming this thing called imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. Have you guys ever dealt with the concept of imposter syndrome? Have you ever felt imposter syndrome before? It can be real difficult if you're ever experiencing any aspect of imposter syndrome. Today's show might just help you take the next step in your real estate investing journey. But before I get too far into that, I want to make sure I take a second and thank my sponsor, which is Red Maples. Red Maples is your go-to source for institutional style property management of small multifamily rentals. They can show you how to earn double-digit returns by going to www.red-maples.com/assessment and get a free assessment to see what your rental portfolio would do. All right, guys, appreciate you hanging in there with me through the sponsors. They're what makes this show happen. But we are talking today all about this concept of imposter syndrome. And I asked you the question, have you ever felt like an imposter? Well, I did some digging and some research, and I came up with this. The definition of imposter is a person who pretends to be someone else in order to deceive others, especially for fraudulent gain. Have you ever felt like an imposter? Have you ever felt like somebody who's intentionally trying to deceive others for fraudulent gain? Man, I don't know about you, but anytime I start to think about a new journey or a new environment that I'm putting myself in or a new opportunity, this can be a difficult thing for people to overcome, these feelings of deceiving others or being fraudulent in order to get ahead. And we don't want to do that as a real estate investor. In fact, we talked about how on this show, we're here to cultivate values-based investing. And so how do you do that? How do you negotiate a transaction? How do you improve a relationship with somebody and advance it forward when you don't have much to offer to begin with? Maybe you're just starting out in real estate. Maybe you're the type of person who you're trying to buy your first deal. You don't know where to get the money from. You don't understand how to put the financing together. This show was designed specifically for you. You who's starting out. Maybe you have your first transaction and you're trying to grow and at a second or third door, and you go to networking events and people ask you, how many units do you have under management or how many units do you own? And you feel like a fraud, like an imposter. If that's you, I want you to hold tight to today's show. You might have to go back and watch some of this on replay because I've got a lot of stuff that I've designed and built to help you. And the only reason I feel even remotely qualified to be able to have a conversation with you even about this concept about imposter syndrome, because I've been in your shoes. I've been somebody who felt like I was deceiving others or felt like I was pretending to be something that I wasn't. And it took me a little bit of a journey in order to get to where I'm at, where I can be authentic, transparent, and true. Notice I don't have a fancy studio around me. In fact, today I've got an old school whiteboard where I'm going to share some illustrations and some concepts with you that might help you overcome imposter syndrome. Now, I don't need a fancy whiteboard. I don't need fancy lighting in office. I don't need the best audio equipment in order to be authentic and transparent and share my journey with you about how I felt like an imposter before. Before I get too far into the concept of imposter syndrome, though, I do want to bring up, one of my favorite movies. I'm not going to lie, Devil Wears Prada. How many of you guys that are watching online right now, if that's you and you love Devils Wear Prada, put it in the comments. I know. But if you love it, put it in the comments so that we all know we can be authentic and transparent. Do you remember this scene from Devil Wears Prada? I know you've never watched the show before, right? You've never been on Devil's Wear Prada, the movie. However, for those of you that have, there is a scene where the lead character, she's working for a very exquisite magazine, and she's having this conversation with, we'll call, the guy's name is Nigel. And there's this whole back and forth about how the head editor just hates her, just hates Andy. And she starts the conversation with Nigel, and we'll call Nigel the marketplace. Do you guys remember this scene? She's basically saying that, you know, something to the effect of she hates me. And Nigel says, is that my problem? I first want to reiterate that this scene encapsulates this very essence of imposter syndrome from the other perspective, from the marketplace. I think this is such a unique view in this scene because it gives us how the market feels about us. And if we're going to overcome imposter syndrome at all, we first have to understand how the market treats us so we know how to rise above and overcome that. So essentially, Andy's having this conversation. Nigel says, that's not my problem. And I know Andy's fires back with something about how she doesn't think it's right to be unacknowledged. And she doesn't even say thank you to her and this whole concept. And Nigel then just tells her, so quit. So quit. And sometimes it can feel like that in the market. We're trying to do everything we can in order to present and move and get our offers through to buyers to buy or to find the investor or find the deal. And we want to say to the marketplace, the market hates me. That's not true. That's not true. You have more value than that. And we're going to get there. We're going to get there. But Nigel tells her to quit. And she goes on to say, essentially, I don't know what else I can do because if I do something right, it's unacknowledged. She doesn't say thank you, but if I do something wrong, she's vicious. This is the marketplace that we deal with. It's not you, it's the market. So if you're not moving as fast as you want to, or achieving as much as you want to, or has gone as far as you want to, or overcome as much as you have thought you should have by now, when we talk about imposter syndrome, it's so important to understand where you're at. You're dealing with a vicious market that's not going to acknowledge you, that's not going to say thank you whenever you achieve a goal or aspire or hit a next thing. So dealing with imposter syndrome first starts with dealing with the market. Now, once you've dealt with the market, it's okay to start to begin to do some assessment on yourself. And if I was going to start over on my overcoming of imposter syndrome, I would have to think about 3 superheroes. I know. Just take a second and walk through these exercises with me. If you want to actually overcome imposter syndrome, it's going to take a little bit of internal dialogue work, okay? So step 1, identify your superpowers. Step 1, identify your superpowers. What are your genuine strengths? Each superhero, Captain America, Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, they all have a superpower. And we identify so much with these characters because they have one unique, maybe sometimes 2 unique superpowers. What are your superpowers? What are your strengths? What have you achieved in the past that tells you that this is a strength of yours? What have you accomplished? Remember, the market's vicious. It doesn't care about any of this stuff, but you do. You have to. That's the first step in overcoming this imposter syndrome. What have you accomplished? What awards have you won? What successes have you had? What is real in your life? What skills do you have? Have you gone above and beyond to have specific skills? Have you studied in a specific area? Have you worked to achieve a specific strength in your own personality? It's so critical that you understand this concept of strengths and your superpower. And then lastly, what are you most passionate about? What are you most passionate about? We're going to use these things in the show today. I want you to remember them as you move forward, okay? So if you can, what have you achieved in the past? Throw it in the comments. If you're watching on replay or you're watching live right now, throw it in the comments. The second thing, what have you accomplished? Throw it in the comments. The third thing, what skills do you have? Throw it in the comments. And number 4, what are you most passionate about? And don't tell me nothing. There's a difference between imposter syndrome and depression. You're not depressed. You feel like an imposter. That's why you're watching the show. I don't want you to feel like an imposter anymore. Put in the comments your strengths. All right, guys, let's go. I got a lot of information to go through with you today. And the first piece of information before we start over and unpacking this whole concept of imposter syndrome and you understand my journey, I have to ask you this question. Should everybody get a freaking trophy? No. No, not everybody should get a trophy. We live in this entitled society today where everybody needs to have their feelings protected. And if you don't get a trophy, you feel left out and unachieved and uninspired. And I'm here to tell you right now, not everybody gets a trophy. So if you've gotten an award, if you have a strength, if you have a gift, in some areas, those are things that you've earned. In other areas, those are things that were given to you. You need to begin to identify and understand the separation between what's been given to you for success and what you've went out and achieved and worked hard and aspired to. Those are the things that are accomplishments, not this namby-pamby world that we live in where you get the best dressed in the office. Okay, like that's not real. In the real world, in the marketplace where you're trying to succeed and accomplish, where you're trying to buy real estate, where you're trying to find investors, this is the real world. And you're being judged, you're being evaluated, you're being assessed based upon your strengths and your skills and your ability to accomplish or heal a specific pain that somebody else has. And so, no, not everybody should get a trophy. The person who wins should get a trophy. The person who wins the deal should get the deal. And these things are okay, but we can't come from this premise that everybody should win, because if everybody wins, nobody's really winning. And so it's critical that we first understand that not everybody should get the trophy. I did some research and pulled some market statistics for you to better help you understand this concept of imposter syndrome. And it was alarming to me. I found out that 82% of people have experienced some imposter syndrome at work. So you're talking about being an entrepreneur. 82% of people have experienced some imposter syndrome at work. And this was according to some recent statistics that were done by psychiatrists in assessments of people in the employment space. Now, when we talk about entrepreneurs, I'll pull those statistics back up. 84% of entrepreneurs experience some form of imposter syndrome. So it can't just be that people who work in the workforce experience imposter syndrome, and it's not just that people who are entrepreneurs experience imposter syndrome. It looks like everybody, to a certain degree, there's times where they're going through the process of experiencing imposter syndrome, and 82 to 84% of the time we're able to capture that they're feeling it right now. Wow. And I know that some of you might be thinking, so I don't want to go down this whole path because this is a different deal altogether. But I want you to know that there might be a group of you who are thinking, who are watching this right now, that it's not imposter syndrome, then it's ego. That's not the case either. Humility is very much different than ego. In fact, confidence is different than ego. We've got to protect ourselves against having a giant inflated ego and remain humble. But humility is not being an imposter to try to achieve in the marketplace. So then what is it? I hope this is helping you by defining this concept of imposter syndrome and knowing what it actually is versus some of the emotions or feelings you might be feeling right now. It can't be an ego situation. If you're running with an ego, then you're going to have a challenge overcoming imposter syndrome because you're running from a facade in a place of fakeness. Now, if you're running from a place of humility and you don't know how to present authenticity, that's a different conversation. And today's show is going to help you with that. Today's show will help you overcome humility and authenticity and confidence. So I did some additional research and I went into the American Psychological Association. I am not a psychiatrist. If you are struggling and this is affecting or impacting your life and your ability to work, please understand, go get the proper medical help. that you need if imposter syndrome is keeping you from even moving, or it's causing anxiety or different levels of depression. However, I did go to the American Psychological Association to get this information. And the American Psychological Association says there's basically a couple of different ways to deal with the concept of imposter syndrome. And the first one is learn the facts. Well, if you're in a deal or you're in a transaction, just know the facts of the deal, write them out, have them in front of you, know what's actually going on. What is the actual truth? The second one is share your feelings. There should be somebody that you're talking to that you can share your feelings with. As you have successes in your life, it says to celebrate those successes. It says let go of perfectionism and focus on, I put in there, focus on completionism. Focus on being a completionist, not a perfectionist. Learn to bring things to completion, not to try to always be perfect in every situation. If you're dealing with imposter syndrome, it talks about in this article that I read, learn to cultivate self-compassion, share your failure and accept it. And so I find those things to be critical in dealing with the concept of imposter syndrome. In fact, they helped me overcome a significant amount of imposter syndrome that I had. I wanted to pull up for you a couple of things to see if this helps you in your journey. And we'll see if they'll pull up while I'm online and also streaming. But I'm going to pull up my Facebook account. Now, at Red Maples, we've got a rapidly growing business. We've added more than 10 times in 1 year the amount of units to the business. However, with that said, that's the success or the accomplishment. If you look on Facebook, look, I only have 649 friends on Facebook. Like, I'm not a massive influencer in the industry, yet you're watching the show, yet you're watching on replay, yet you're watching on YouTube. Why? Well, maybe there's some things that I've done, and I'll share those things with you, that gets engagement from people who specific to my audience, people who specific to who I'm trying to serve and help. If I click on the Red Maples Facebook page, if it pulls up, from a completely transparent and authentic point of view, our Red Maples property management page only has 122 likes. But yet, I'm online, I'm on video, you see me in your reels, you see everywhere. Guys, not everybody hits the subscribe and the like button. Not everybody shares your content. But people watch who you are much more than they watch what you do. Now, if I click over to LinkedIn, I have a little bit of a larger following on LinkedIn. My professional network on LinkedIn, for whatever reason, I've been able to cultivate a little bit of a following. That doesn't mean that everybody engages or watches my videos or watches live whenever I'm on LinkedIn. But if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see I have over 4,000 followers on LinkedIn. 4,530 followers on LinkedIn. Yet I don't have 4,530 followers on this live cast right now. I think there might be 5 or 6 of you. Right now, the icon shows me 3. That the StreamYard has identified that you're on this live cast with me right now. And if I go to my Instagram page, there's a point to all of this, guys. Sometimes you think that the people that you see are bigger than they actually are. And I'm here to remind you, there's not much to this in order to be authentic, transparent, and humble. Just be authentic, transparent, and humble. You see here on my Instagram page, I have 121 posts, 178 followers. I'm not setting the world on fire on any social media platform, including YouTube. If you watch this show on YouTube or you're reconnecting with me on YouTube, look, I've only got 46 subscribers. I've got 246 videos. My best short video that I have on YouTube is 297 views. Look, that's not going to change anybody's life. That doesn't make anybody insta-famous or an influencer. But what is it? It's me sharing my expertise in the marketplace about the things that I actually know and the things that I can help people with. When it comes to real estate investing, some of my best videos are my opinion on no money down. Some of my best videos are about the inflated costs of construction right now. Some of my best videos are about the trends that I see in the current marketplace. Why? because those are things that are authentic, that people know about me that only I would know, because it's my opinion. It's my observations. It's my understanding of where we're at right now. And by me being authentic and transparent in the videos and sharing with you my level of skill and expertise, what's crazy is our business has grown more than 10 times. I'm not trying to go out and find 10,000 followers. I'm trying to find the next person who needs assistance with third-party property management with an institutional style management organization. Now that's me. What is your ask? What are you trying to achieve? What do you want to see happen so that you can get the outcome that you're trying to achieve? You have to be authentic in that approach. You cannot hide behind facades and paid advertising and have overwhelming success without being a person who can fulfill the success. Our clients, guys, love working with Red Maples. I have multiple times, every time I pick up a new client interaction, they say, the way I heard about you, Nathan, was other people were talking about you or sharing you on Facebook or whatever, that you guys are the go-to source for property management in St. Louis. But that's my expertise. That's the thing that I have built a career around. So if you want to buy property, or you want to sell more property, or you want to rent your units, or you want to achieve more in the real estate career, you want to have a better speaking career, you want to have a better life in real estate, selling real estate. Guys, there's only so many ways to say this. You have to be authentic and transparent with your audience. Who they see you as online, you should be even better when they meet you in person. Who they see you as in your marketing, in the language, in your materials, needs to be even better than they see you in person. I'm going to share with you an illustration real quick to help with this. In life, we use, let's call this, I'm going to draw just a quick stick figure. Here's a stick figure of a guy, a tree, and there's a little bush here that's on the ground. Okay. Now, in order to get you to focus on the guy, the tree, and the terrible drawing of the bush, the way that I did that was I put a frame around it. Anytime we do marketing online, anytime we connect with people in Facebook groups, anytime we connect with people in personal one-on-one networking groups, anytime we create a flyer or a direct mailer, anytime we interact with a seller, we should be putting a frame around our character. And once you've defined your character, you know your core values, you know who you are, you know what you're trying to achieve. Once you've defined these things, your character, then that's what you have people begin to focus on. The aspect of a specific part of your character. In fact, in my presentation with Red Maples, if you ever sit down with me in order to be able to take you on for a third-party property management clients, you will see that I go over our core values with you. I'm putting a frame around the character. Now, my expectation is, as a company, that our team exceeds that character that I've framed. When we do that, we're bigger on the inside than we are on the outside. And the way that that looks is there's actually this entire picture that's going on outside of the frame. There's birds up here. There's a car over here. There's all this other stuff going on. But I put a frame around the important things to you in the transaction, in the deal, of who I authentically am. It's already there. This exists. I didn't make it up. The picture's already happening. But my responsibility, my job to authenticity, to humility, is to put a frame around the things that would be important to you. In overcoming imposter syndrome, I have got 7 different strategies. And then today, I know we don't have time to get into all of them. I've got maybe 5-6 minutes left on the show. However, I do want you to have some strategies that you can take away. The first strategy that I'd like you to be able to take away is this strategy of self-talk. What do you say to yourself when you're talking to yourself? What questions do you ask yourself? Do you ask yourself good questions? Do you even know good questions to ask yourself? I would ask you to sit down today and write out, just mind dump onto a piece of paper, all of the things that you ask yourself on a regular basis. What are those questions? And then sit down on that same piece of paper, cross them out, and start writing better questions to reaffirm yourself. Where am I going to see success today? How is today going to be a great day? We're going to get our next client. When is that next client going to sign? Not is the next client going to sign? When? Look, guys, it's the questions you ask yourself in your self-talk that drive the outcomes that you're seeking and trying to achieve. Make sure you select a supportive community. This is why I'm part of communities like Tours and Pours that help to aspire real estate investors. If you're local here, I encourage you, the last Thursday of every month, check us out online. Attend the Tours and Pours group meeting. It's so supportive, and it'll help you achieve and take the next steps in your real estate journey, because it's such a positive environment, a supportive community. Even if you don't feel like you can achieve, the group was set up to help the newest person see themselves as a real estate investor. Or maybe you can achieve the St. Charles County Real Estate Investment Association group that I do. We used to meet at the Walnut Grill. Now this group's going to be meeting at the St. Charles County Realtors Association. So it also went from free to $15, but that covers a meal, just as a heads up. I just wanted to give you guys some updates on the communities that I'm a part of. And why you should be part of these communities is because they're supportive. They help you, they help me overcome imposter syndrome, because I can be my authentic self in these communities and share with people where I'm at, and they can help and support me to achieve and get to the next level. Take a second to thank my second sponsor of the day, Web Insurance. Remember, the reason that Web Insurance clients love them is because every year they proactively shop your insurance so that you're truly with the most affordable and appropriate coverages. From contractor to real estate investor, let Web Insurance be your guide. Go get a quote. Head over to www.webinsurance.com. All right, guys, that's the second investor, our second sponsor for my show, investor. You can see where my mind's at today. All right. The next, save and share supportive stories, testimonials. One of the things that I love to do in a company culture, whenever I'm building that culture, whether it's a sales culture or whether I'm building that culture is an operational culture, I love to share success stories. I love to share testimonials, and you should collect these stories of success, whether it's an email that you received or you had a Google review online or something positive, something that you can point back to as an organization and put a frame around to say, this is who I am. This is who we are. That helps to overcome imposter syndrome, because it's reaffirmed over and over and over again, and you have definitive facts from somebody saying, yes, this is who we are. You're going to seek learning from failures. John Maxwell has a book, Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. Not every single situation do we walk away winning from, as in taking the trophy or the prize. But if we don't, there's an opportunity for us to learn. And then once we've learned those things, we want to make sure that we share those failures. It's important to have self-compassion. Be easy on yourself. One of the challenges that we often have is that when we draw this frame in our life and we put it around and we have some type of character issue, it chips off part of that frame. And that frame becomes damaged. And the picture goes from looking beautiful to having some damage on it. Self-compassion is the ability to recognize that there's damage there and to care enough about yourself to tell others, yeah, I know there's some damage there, but I've been able to work through that, and it's been restored. I'm not expecting any person to be perfect. When you fall short, we all do. The goal is to not continue to fall short, but to make a change, a pivot. Turn 180 degrees from the direction that you fell short on and rebuild your character day by day, just like putting that frame around the beautiful picture. And lastly, guys, before I can finish up today's show, because it's been about 30 minutes and I don't want to take too much of your lunch hour. However, when you share your failure, what happens is that humility becomes an antivenom to imposter syndrome. Humility becomes the antivenom to imposter syndrome. Notice, I talked about all of the positive self-talk, all of the collecting of affirmations. We talked about the entire concept of self-care and all this stuff before sharing our failure. You've got to do some personal development work. You got to grow a little bit if you want to overcome this concept of imposter syndrome. But remember, when you share your failure after you've overcame those things, you've taken some time for those things to heal and rebuild and restore, then humility becomes the antivenom of imposter syndrome. You may have been bitten by the snake. Things may have happened in your past, but the antivenom to that is humility. A humble approach to show authentic. You guys know what I'm trying to say. Authentically, yourself with others, where you're at, who you are. Don't let who you are in front of other people be different than who you are behind closed doors. And the seventh strategy, I know I was about to close, but I got one more strategy that will really help you, is stop expecting accomplishment before experience. Stop expecting accomplishment before experience. When we try to market our personal brand greater than it really is, there's a gap between the marketing and where you are. And that emptiness is felt. Do you guys see the gap? Not the giant red bridge, but the gap. Authenticity is your superpower that can defeat that enemy of imposter syndrome. So don't try to make yourself greater than you are. Just present yourself and come as you are. By doing so, guys, you'll overcome this concept of imposter syndrome. And with that said, I got to make sure that I thank my last sponsor today, BBC Global Services. BBC Global is outsourcing that helps people like you focus on your superpowers so that you can do the things that you need to do, and they can get the automated, routine, repetitive tasks done. The things you have to do over and over and over again, those administrative burdens, let BBC Global help you out. They're simple and on your terms with no terms and no minimums, no special terms and no minimums. Get a free consultation. Just head over to bbcglobalservices.com and check them out. All right, guys, that Renovation Nation brings us to the end of another episode. I'm Nathan Bush, your guide on this journey of real estate business growth. Remember, just like plants need the right air, soil, and care, our minds need the right environment to build a life of passion and purpose and growth. Don't forget to get your citizenship to Mind Renovation Nation. People ask me that all the time. How do I get my citizenship to Mind Renovation Nation? Because I post it on a lot of different stuff. The way you do that is you subscribe to the email list over at nathanbushmba.com/subscribe. You subscribe to the YouTube channel. And once you've done those two things, you share the show. That way other people can join us Friday at noon. And now you have a citizenship to Mind Renovation Nation. And join me next time for more insights and inspiration, and of course, a little bit of that nation-building spirit that drives us to create a community united by shared values, purpose, and a commitment to leaving a lasting legacy. Until then, guys, keep building, keep growing, and let's lead more than 25,000 souls to a life of values-based investing. In our journey of Mind Renovation Nation, we also often talk about personal growth. We're going to talk about ethical leadership, making impactful choices. Values-based investing is an extension of that philosophy. It's about being a steward, not only of our finances, but of our values and vision for the future. So signing off from the heart of St. Louis, stay blessed, stay inspired, and remember, every day is a chance to renovate your nation. Thanks, guys. Thanks for attending. Thanks for joining. See ya.